This podcast features adult content not suitable for listeners under the age of 18. You have been warned.
Welcome to this episode of Back to the Story, where friends come together to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'll be your DM, Klouse. Let's get started.
If there's anybody in our friends group that you can tell me.
I don't think the stars would shine so bright if just one of you were not here.
My name is Ezekiel de Barbarek, at your service.
You have my sword.
You're the only person who makes me want to be better than I am.
And my axe.
I wasn't strong enough or fast enough or, I don't know, clever enough. I didn't have it in me to stop what happened.
We haven't done this before. Does that make us professional?
That would make you amateurs at best.
And if those do not help their people survive, they are cut from the pack.
You wake up from this daydream, from this nightmare. Half memory, half dream.
There's more out there to find, and there's more moments for having.
I'll find a way to be stronger next time.
I don't know fuck all about what's right.
Everyone who has ever loved you was wrong.
You can do better.
I know. I have to.
How do you want to do this? You guys ready?
Hopefully.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Hope is good. Alright, well let's jump in before technology fucks us over at the worst time again. So, previously, after traveling a day north of Embershore, the fledgling group known as the Bronze Scales set up a strategic camp prepared for a Valorn ambush. As a swarm of corrupted birds and a few wolf-like Valorn attacked, the group swiftly brought them down, collecting several heads for their contract. The next day, the group continued northward, coming to the cliffs of Nado at nightfall. In the darkness, Amsen set up camp with Kalvyn and Ball holding guard as Ellory, Vesper, and Ezekiel investigated Orzissa's rest, finding it still empty, except a few warped scales and the dead remains of the once singing plants. The group has just reconvened to rest at the top of the cliff, deciding what to do next. A small sliver of a moon dimly lights the cliffs in a blanket of silver light, reflecting off of what's left of the snow. The warm sea breeze flows through your hair as you look on from the cliffs over the waves crashing against the cliffs, underlit by orange yellow emberstones. What do you know?
I'm not sure if we should camp here.
I bet we're too. If something happened to Orzissa's, what chance do we have?
So, we should pack up again and try to find a little bit somewhere else to go?
Somewhere a bit safer.
Somewhere that's at least not immediately visible at the top of the cliff.
Fair enough.
That's fine by me. I can take a look for somewhere a little bit more hidden. Can I take a look for somewhere more hidden?
Yeah. Where are you looking? And then you can make a survival check.
I guess I would want to get us at least, 15 minutes away from this place first. To woods, or maybe a cave, if I can find it.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and roll a survival check.
It is 11.
I see it. Yeah. So Ezekiel, you trail off, moving away from the cliff and towards the tree line, searching for a good 10-15 minutes. You can certainly find places away from the cliffs, but you don't find any caves or any strategic boulders or anything like that. There's just woods. There's plenty of places in the woods to set up camp, but nothing strategically really great. But it would give you some space between this location and where you are.
Well, we can keep going, or we can just hide out in the woods under cover.
Ellory, Kalvyn, Amsen, thoughts? I guess the woods.
Yeah.
Alright, well, we'll keep an eye out. We'll keep the fire low tonight. Not trying to track too much.
Okay. So, Ezekiel, do you lead them away from this location into the woods?
Yeah, we'll go into the woods and find somewhere with enough cover overhead that would be good.
Yeah, you can easily get at least that. I think Amsen began to set up camp, and so you'll take a few minutes, take everything down, and head out following Ezekiel, a few minutes, 10, 15 minutes or so, into the tree line, and find a place where there's plenty of at least overhead cover. It's rather than sort of a thicker area of these pines with a few bushes around. It looks like it would work.
And if we don't want to risk a campfire, I can handle a meal for the evening. It won't be much, but it'll do. And I will go ahead and cast Goodberry, pass out a berry to everybody.
You weren't kidding when you said it wouldn't be much.
It's more filling than it looks.
And for those of you that do eat them, it is more filling, surprisingly. You quickly eat it, but then it satiates you completely. And you actually have that little bit of a sense of actually being full, almost as if you've overeaten just a little bit. But otherwise, you guys are in the night. Nightfall has only fallen maybe an hour or so ago. And you're free to do whatever you like, set up camp.
Yep, set up camp.
Okay. So you'll set up camp and just basically go to bed or rest or washes. What do you guys do?
No, I gotta talk about this. This is kind of a weird situation. What are we gonna do? Are we gonna investigate what happened to Orcesis? Or are we gonna just assume the worst? Are we gonna keep going, looking for more critters to tag? I know everybody's in shock, but we probably need to get it out.
Well, we do need more Balrin to afford the journey, so we'll have to keep hunting. I mean, I want to know what happened to Orcesis, but I don't know if we're capable of taking on whatever answers we find.
Okay, that's one person. All right, Vesper, so what do you think?
Woo! I'm the only member of the party today.
I don't know if I have anything particularly useful to contribute to this, because I'm just probably as conflicted as everybody else about this. I don't want to put us in unnecessary danger, but I do want to find out what happened. If Orcesis if he's okay or not. But I don't want us all getting killed in the process.
Why don't we continue hunting in the area, and maybe we'll find some clues that way.
I agree.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. Do what we know we can for now, and maybe we'll stumble across something that will lead us in a different direction. We know that we are capable of dealing with Valrin, for the most part. And we don't really know what happened to Orcesis, but maybe hunting the Valrin will give us an idea of what happened.
Alright.
Yeah, I can go for that.
I have no stake in this either way, so whatever you all think is best, as long as I make my boat on time.
Do we know when the boat's leaving?
Yeah, about a week, so you'll still have like 6 days left.
Okay. So yeah, Bo will offer to take first watch.
Okay. Yeah, as you begin your watches, Ball, you can go ahead and roll perception. If y'all are doing it in pairs, I can do the advantage thing, but maybe let's go ahead and roll.
Yeah, I'll watch it, Ball.
I'll take second watch as usual.
That's 15 for Ball.
Okay. Pretty quiet for Ball and Vesper, actually. The wind rolls through. The snow is cold, but the warm sea breeze is warm. You can tell spring is beginning, but otherwise, besides insects and animal noises every now and then, you don't really notice anything ambushing or anything getting too close to you. And as your watch ends and the next one begins, was it Ellory with someone or just Ellory?
I can take second with Ellory.
Okay, so one of y'all give me perception at advantage.
I'll go ahead and do that. 21.
Okay. So as Amsen and Ellory are watching during your watch, it gets quiet about an hour into it. And as you're just kind of looking around, it's very low light. There's just a little bit of silver moonlight. And the two of you actually notice together a faint green glow in one of the trees nearby. It's maybe 15, 20 feet away. It's just kind of at branch level, maybe 15 feet up.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah, green glows have not been kind to us in the past.
Should we wake everyone?
I think we should just be ready to. As I start taking a couple steps towards Kalvyn.
As you get up to move towards Kalvyn, you hear the and the gringo disappears. You see it go in the direction of north before it quickly goes behind too many trees to track anymore.
Shit.
Alright.
Something's probably being alerted to our presence.
Probably. At least it was only a small bird, and not a dangerous creature right away. We have some time.
Yeah. I have the feeling something bigger's coming, though.
Should we start waking people up?
Yeah, I think we should.
Alright. I was walking towards Kalvyn, but I think I'll go over to Vesper and wake her up.
Vesper wakes up?
What's going on?
Ellory and I saw one of the birds in a tree, and as I started moving towards other people, it flew away, and then I point in the direction that it went. We have a feeling that there's going to be some not-so-friendly company in a minute or two.
This is our bird.
It was glowing green.
Yeah, it had the eyes.
Yeah, that's an important detail. Okay. Yeah, let's go. I'll get up and start helping wake people up.
Okay, shortly after that, all of you are up as well.
So what are we doing? We waiting for it to come? We gonna go after it?
I just woke up. I don't know.
We could move the camp.
We could. What's our fear here? More of those Valren? Something bigger?
Yeah, the Valren.
Well, I'm worried about something bigger.
I don't know what the Valgrace is.
Yeah, we have no idea where it is.
We know who's in this area, usually.
Well, if you think we should move the camp, let's move the camp.
I don't know if that's the best option, but it's just an idea. If somebody else has a better idea, I am listening.
I mean, it just feels rough to get halfway through this night and interrupt it, but I understand there is something quite large out there. The only other option I can see is continue as we have, try and get back to sleep, post-watch, and keep a better eye knowing there's something coming from the north.
Kalvyn, you had an idea?
My idea wasn't much better. It was, if we wanted to relocate, remember that. Y'all remember that pit? That little alcove we kind of hid in?
Under the tree?
Yeah. I mean, we could, if we wanted to, try to get out of sight, but I kind of am in agreement with Zeke on this. We should probably...
Ezekiel, if you please.
Right. If I think we should probably just rest, and if something comes, we'll, be close at hand. We should finish the night, though.
Yeah, we're a little bit larger than we were at 16. I don't know if we'll fit under that stump again.
Well, we're not all larger than we were at 16.
Well, I think Ball's 2 feet extra makes up for it.
Ball?
Yeah, when you guys are saying that, it'll be a little bigger now. So then you just see with Ball at the side, kind of tucking his stomach in, trying to look a little bit smaller.
Well, sorry for waking you, but if we have to wake you up again, at least you'll know.
Yeah, we'll keep our weapons at the ready. Just know if you wake up alarmingly, probably something.
Better safe than sorry.
All right.
Okay, so do you guys go back to bed, continue the watch?
Mm-hmm.
Think so.
Okay. With your weapons nearby, just in case, as Ellory and Amsen can continue their watch. 30 minutes, 45. The last hour of your watch goes by, nothing. It's just quiet. Insects every now and then. Your watch ends, and then you wake up, whoever the last final watch would be. And you'll wake up at about 2 a.m. is when you'll have that discussion before you get back to bed.
It's me and whoever. Kalvyn?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of y'all give me a perception at advantage.
I can do that. 26?
Okay. So Ezekiel, as you're watching as you're taking your watch, you hear the insects and the waves, even distantly, and listening and almost getting attuned to nature you become so accustomed to. You can smell the salt air on the air, but there's something else. You don't see anything, but you smell rot. And it's very faint. Only that the natural 20 is what enabled you to sense it. There's a faint smell of rotting flesh. It can't be nearby. It'd be stronger if it was close, but it's somewhere close enough to where you can smell it.
Do we know what direction it's coming from?
Judging by the wind, it's probably coming from north or northeast.
Do you think I should go check it out for a minute?
Honestly, I'm almost convinced that it's been there for a while. I think we should let them finish resting and not go running into anything until we're totally ready for the worst.
I will try and memorize the scent as best I can.
Okay. Yeah, you kind of lock that scent into your mind, and there's almost two. There's a ferrous scent that you identify as blood, and then there's more of a fleshy disease almost smell mixed in with it.
Just to be certain, as the kind of final hour of my watch, I will actually go direwolf form and sniff around, kind of marking the direction of those two scents.
Okay. Yeah, doing that, and in direwolf form, you're certainly proficient in it. And you notice there's almost two directions of it now that you're in the direwolf form. There's one that is more northward, and then there's one that's more eastward. The more north one is the rotting disease smell, and the one eastward is more of the blood.
Okay.
As you mark those. And as you kind of come back, as Kalvyn is left with the rest sleeping little babies, the sun begins to rise, the golden light, glistening off of what's left of the snow, and it begins to warm your skin, and the rest, everyone looks up. You do.
Oh, so we're not dead. That's good.
Or are we?
Right. Anyway, while Cal and I were keeping watch last night, I smelled something on the wind, and I will elaborate of the two smells, the one sort of more bloody to the east, and another one sort of more diseased and rot to the north.
Great.
If we're continuing to hunt something, perhaps following one of those directions.
Did it seem to be getting stronger over the night, or just that the wind changed?
I picked it up when the wind shifted. Checked it out a bit in my particular way, but
he turned into a wolf.
So I've got a pretty good idea of where they're coming from, but I didn't want to get too far.
Well, we didn't intend to hunt today, so perhaps we should investigate.
You said the blood smell was to the east?
Correct.
That's towards the cliffs, right?
Yeah, and Ezekiel, you would know the blood scent was towards the east, essentially where you guys came from. It was in that direction, and you sort of confirmed it in your direwolf form. The other scent was further north.
Well, we've already been that way.
Maybe bloodshed or rotten flesh.
I'd suggest we push on. I mean, we already came from that way. Who's to say it ain't the blood we've already found?
Did we find any over there?
I thought I could be misspeaking.
I found some under the water in Narcissus's cavern. I think it sort of washed off the scales by the time I brought them back.
So I drew just a rough map. The left is land, to the right is ocean. The left bottom X is kind of where you made camp. And then Ezekiel, where the cliffs were, where y'all did spider climbing, is where the scent is coming from, the middle X. And then the most northern X is where you smell the rotting flesh, in that direction, vaguely.
And remind me, because there was one sort of not underwater cave over there that we didn't end up checking out, did we?
Yeah, there was, y'all went on the underwater one, and then the cliffs are about 400 feet, and about 100 feet from the top of the cliffs, there's a cave sort of in the side of the cliff. Didn't end up exploring it much. Y'all kind of passed by, looked inside, saw some weapons and some bones, and then kept going.
So We either go back to check out that, or go up north and see where the rot is coming from.
My vote is on the rotten flesh, which I never thought I'd have to say, but better than trying to all of us scale down the cliff.
Fair enough.
I concur.
That's just my vote.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that what y'all decide to do?
Yeah. Do I have enough of a trail as a human, or do I have to go animal to really take it up?
Because you used your animal form in the morning to kind of mark it, I'll say between both of those forms, you're able to get a vague direction. At least I'll say give you advantage on the survival check.
Okay.
You know the direction. This is just to hone in on it as you get closer.
So that's 21.
Okay. And so as you're you're almost going off memory of the scent that you confirmed in direwolf form, and you head north to northeast. So you're heading closer to the cliffs as you begin to follow what the marked signs you left in direwolf form towards the smell. And after an hour and a half, Ezekiel, you can kind of smell it consistently, and after about an hour and a half, the rest of you can start to smell it as well.
At this point, I cast mage armor.
Okay. The shimmering field kind of appears over you, and as you're walking, you're sort of in the tree line, and you can see as you're getting closer, you can see a few trees are down. It looks like as you continue forward 50 feet away, 40, 30, you can see there's trees down, there's claw marks, and looks like there's been a tussle here. There's black, crimson on the ground, and you begin to see bodies. You're about 30 feet away now, and you see kind of forms, bodies on the ground. You can see they are, at this point as you're close enough, you can see they're Valorant bodies crawled up. There's 4 of them.
How old do they look?
If you go up to them, you can attempt to...
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just going to post
if we...
up and keep an eye out while anybody's doing anything with the bodies. I just want to keep them around.
Easy
So,
gold
Kalvyn,
if we take the horns.
My thoughts precisely.
So, Kalvyn, to see how old these bodies are, make a medicine check as you go up to the body. Ezekiel, make a perception check as you're watching out. What else is anybody else doing anything in particular? Just kind of taking it in.
Kind of keeping watch. Actually, I want to see if there are any scales.
I was going to say the same thing.
Okay, you can either make separate or one of you advantage investigation checks.
Why don't you do advantage?
Okay.
I got a 15 on that medicine.
10 on the perception.
So, Kalvyn, looking at these bodies, judging by the amount of rot, you can clearly see claw marks, what looks like puncture wounds from something like a spear or teeth, a piercing type wound, as well as slashing. The bodies look probably a few weeks old. You're guessing 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. It's hard to tell, but something like that. These are not fresh. You can see also where other scavengers, maybe birds perhaps, have been scavenging off these bodies. These aren't fresh kills. The fur is still there, and the rot has begun. Ezekiel, with the 10, you don't notice anything in particular. No movement. Looking around, there's several of the trees down. And at 20, okay. Between Vesper and Ellory, looking around, you can see the few trees that are down. There's one of them in particular. They all have some sort of damage to them, but there's one in particular that has massive claw marks. Looks like 3 solid claw marks across it. Clearly from a large creature. This is not Valorant size. This is bigger. Looking around for scales, you do notice a few. You see sort of gleaming, a shining metallic something in the snow as you go over, pull it out, brush it off. It is a clean bronze scale, about the size of a small plate.
This is not good.
This scale in particular looks very different to the one you saw the other night.
Any signs of tracks, I guess, from like whoever it is that won this battle, where they went to?
Give me a survival check.
It's a 16.
Yeah, looking around for tracks, you do notice several smaller tracks that you identify as probably the Valorant tracks, and you notice larger tracks, imprinted from a heavy creature of some sort, What you do notice is the smaller tracks, they're harder to find. It's been several weeks. They're hard to track. But you do notice they came from either the woods or to the north. There seemed to be a trail that led here. The bigger tracks appear here and only here. You look all around the scuffle, and there's plenty of them in the area. But once you go 30, 35, 40 feet out, there's nothing anymore. But the other tracks you can kind of find that it leads north, or led from the north. It's hard to tell.
Will the Valorant get him from the north, as we expect there to be more? And this other creature, I believe, may have had wings. I don't see any sign of it.
Sorry, just to brush up on what you might have told Vesper. You said that one of the scale she found was different.
Yeah. Vesper, I'm pretty sure you showed it to them. The one you found in Orsisa's lair.
She told everyone.
Okay, I thought she did. The scale she found in the lair wasn't bronze. It was clearly a scale, and it looked like a dragon scale you'd seen before. But it wasn't metallic colored. It was dark, and it was almost warped into a strange shape, like putting Tupperware in boiling water. It was warped, almost wider and more of a triangular formation compared to this scale that looks like Kalvyn. I mean, as Kalvyn, you look at it, it looks like the stereotypical scale, like something crafted. They're both metallic in nature, and they're roughly the same size. It's just one is a different color and shaped differently, and the other looks like a normal-ish scale, though it's a little damaged on the sides.
I'm going to take one of the scales that we find here and just hold on to it.
Okay, you'll find maybe 3 or so total.
What do we know about the transformation process of Valorant becoming Valorant?
I believe that Amsen found some information on that.
I believe what you told me was that when it has something to do with the contact between blood of the, like for example, let's say a wolf is attacking the Valgriff or something, and it bites the Valgriff and ingests some of the blood or something like that, it'll turn into a Valorant.
Yeah. But yeah, essentially that. Transfer of blood of the Valgriff corrupts the blood of some other creature into a Valorant, corrupted form of whatever it was before.
And we've seen from the animals that have been corrupted into Valorant that it kind of changes their shape and color somewhat so that they look strange.
Yeah, exactly. And there may be boar or wolf versions, but they begin to share characteristics once they're corrupted into Valorant, but they retain some characteristics as well.
So the fear is your dragon friend is transformed in some way. Now, would he be able to turn just into one of these Valrin, or are we assuming that he would have killed the big one and turned into the Valgriff?
We never found the Valgriff's body, so there's no reason to jump to that conclusion unless we find it.
I don't know if we can tell either way.
I think it's a fair assessment that he clearly got in a fight with a bunch of Valrin, clearly got hurt, and, I mean, I don't want to jump out of a cliff with this assumption, but, I mean, stuff.
Y'all would understand that the transfer of blood, only from the stories you've heard, only seems to corrupt if they get blood of the Valgriff. So a Valrin blood doesn't corrupt other creatures, only from the Valgriff. So the smaller creatures can't, but yeah.
Well, do we continue going north? Figure out where these creatures are coming from?
For multiple reasons, that seems like the best idea.
Let's make sure we take these horns first.
Do these horns have to be, super intact, or can Ball just literally just try to rip them off? Alright, so Ball just tries to, force rip them off.
Make a strength check for funsies. Or athletics, if you have that.
That's a 15.
Yeah. So as Ball kind of and just rips off, parts of the skull are still attached to the horns. The Ball rips that off, and Kalvyn, you can take a few as well. If you're, I don't know if you're trying to physically do it. Like Ball, or use a blade.
Oh, if he was struggling, I was just gonna kind of grab around his waist and give it a tug.
Okay, you begin to head towards the ball, but you just see rip off these two horns. But over the next couple of minutes, y'all can easily, whether with blades or just physically struggling with it, it might take an extra minute or two. But you rip off the horns, cut off the heads, and gather 4 more Valren, we'll call them heads, even if they're sets of horns.
Alright, yeah, I'll pass the horns to whoever's, I guess, carrying them, unless it ends up being me, and then kind of motion in the direction where when I was doing the tracking, where I saw the faint footprints kind of fade, where it looked like they came from. And maybe I'll look to Ezekiel and say, is this the direction that they came from?
Alright. Well, I'll do my best, and I will try and follow the trail.
Okay. Make a survival check again, at advantage, since Ball has kind of found at least a trailhead for you to sort of follow.
That is another natural 20, so 26.
Wow. Okay. So as you'll kind of follow Ezekiel's lead, you'll walk sort of just at the edge of the tree line along the cliffs. As you're following these trails, you'll start it sort of in the tree line, and it kind of takes you out a bit towards the cliffs as you're heading essentially north. All along this trail, it's mostly just trees, nature has taken over. Every now and then, as you're stepping, you step on stones, like 3-4 cobblestones. You go on for another 30 minutes, another hour, and you see part of a wall, and there's not much left. It's only maybe 2 foot left of a few 3 to 5 stones left, but there was once stuff here. It's been a long time. It's overgrown with vines and moss. But there's once some sort of structure or road here. It's hard to tell. There's not much left to see. But as you do, Ezekiel, head forth for another few hours, ends up 3-4 hours go by until the cliffs sort of begin to decrease in altitude, and you begin to go down, and the cliffs become, instead of sheer, begin to divert into a sloping angle. They're still pretty steep. They're 45, 50 degrees, but not sheer like they were before on the cliffs of Navo. And as you're leading the group, Ezekiel, you see in the distance, maybe 500 feet away, you see a stone structure. It's tall, maybe 60, 70 feet high. It is a circular tower. It is overgrown with moss, vines. There's what remains of a little bit of a wall to the side, but other than that, it's ruined.
So, what was that story about the origin of the Valgriff? Amsen, didn't you learn something about it?
The origin of the Valgriff? That's an excellent question.
I believe it came from a curse on a kingdom.
In search of a ruler who was... I don't remember.
Yeah, I'll have to consult my history roll for a second, because I didn't write down very much. I wrote down what the Valgriff is, and what it does, but not its origin.
Okay. Why don't someone with history give me a history check? Amsen, you can do it if you want.
21.
That's fair.
Okay. So with the 21, as you're kind of searching what you were told and what you read and what you remembered, there was a kingdom north of Ember Shore, a few days' ride, a long time ago, centuries ago. It fell for reasons you're not exactly sure, but you know the curse of the Valgriff began there, with the king being the Valgriff. There was a curse of paranoia and betrayal that drove the king to madness and extreme tyranny. It eventually drove everyone to either flee from him, be killed by him, or to convert to absolute loyalty to him, which supposedly manifested as the first Valren. It's a curse. Who created the curse? It's unclear, but it had to do with the king and this kingdom.
Cool. I relay that to the party.
In my research, I don't know if I'm connecting dots that weren't there, but something about there's a temple to Vasul in that kingdom.
Yeah, and Amsen, you remember also the kingdom was called Mortham, and Kalvyn, you would remember this too, and the king was King Mortham, was the name. And Kalvyn, you do remember this, as Amsen is telling you this, you remember there was a temple to Vasul in this kingdom.
Shall we look into it?
I'm always up for going into large abandoned towers. That's the wrong voice. Where did he come from?
Rex slipped in there.
I know, I was going to be like, Rex? What?
Wow, okay. Let me reset that for a minute. Anyway, I'd be up for exploring.
Yeah, so Ball begin to kind of walk towards it. How far away is it?
It's about 500 feet away and sort of the edge of the cliff in quotation marks because it does slope down, but it's sort of the edge of the flat piece before the slope begins. But it's about 500 feet away and we begin to move towards it.
If we're going down there, can we try to be quiet about it? Please. Emphasis
I'm going
on
to go out
try.
on a limb and say no.
Before we go in, I'm going to cast Aid. And I'm going to cast it on Ellory, Amsen, and myself. So we each get an extra 5 hit points to our maximum and to our current.
Actually, I'm going to wander over to Ball. Friend, I noticed despite how big you are a little slow. Would you like a bit of assistance with that? And I'm just hold out my hand.
What kind of assistance?
Oh, come on. Where's the fun in that? And I'll just grab him, and I'll cast Long Strider. Raises his speed by 10 for the next hour.
I sprint away from the party. So long, suckers.
And as Ball begins to take that first step after, what does the casting look like, Ezekiel? I think it's the first time you've done this one.
I think I will just kind of grab my holy symbol and just say a small prayer, and he'll just kind of feel, again, that sort of warm wind surround him. Kind of focuses on around his feet.
Yeah, so the wind picks up at your feet, Ball, driving you forward, and you feel quickened.
I kind of look at Ezekiel and then look at my feet, and then kind of test it out as I begin to walk towards the tower in a stealthy manner.
Okay. If you're trying to stealth, roll stealth. As you are getting closer, beginning to try to stealth, you can see where it was, the altitude was going down towards sea level. About where you are currently, it begins to pick back up and push higher in altitude.
Good job, guys.
We'll get to that in a second. I can't wait. And it begins, and you see even beyond the tower, you can see a hill almost begin to form a plateau. Beyond miles, perhaps, you can kind of see a great distance without the tree line there that leads up higher, maybe 400, 500 feet up, and you can see this great plateau that builds up. It almost hangs like a Pride Rock from The Lion King off the edge of the sea just a bit. But as y'all begin to, gracious, try to move quietly, did anyone do good?
No.
Actually, we were all trying to be noisy here, so we all failed.
Okay.
But yeah, we're very quiet.
We were trying to cover up our other steps with noise, and it didn't really work.
I did say try. I didn't say succeed.
I rolled a 0.
Yeah. No, our
You rolled a
highest
natural one, and it became a 0.
our highest roll was a 13.
That's so bad.
So, Ellory and Amsen, you try to be stealthy. I mean, you're out in the open. There's nowhere really to hide, but you're walking quietly. The rest of everyone is just clinging in their armor. Their necklaces are banging off of their whatever leather armor they're carrying. Their weapons shambling at their side.
I exchange a look with Amsen and just roll my eyes.
Amsen shrugs.
Yeah, so y'all, as you're moving forward, what's the marching order? Who's up front?
Ball's in the front.
Yeah, Ball. That makes sense.
Cal.
Yep. So we have Ball, Kalvyn kind of in the front 2 position.
I'm going to say towards the back.
Towards the back, okay. Amsen, Ellory.
I'll be in the middle.
Okay. Vesper and...
Oh, I'm at the back with Ellory.
Okay, perfect. So as you're moving towards it, everyone besides Ezekiel, give me a perception check.
Okay.
17.
19.
I rolled a 3.
So
That's it.
Amsen, Ellory, Vesper, as you are moving forward, you see, and you're watching this tower, you see on the third floor, as you get close enough, you can now see there's no large windows, but there are arrow slits every now and then. You can see the door is to the west side of the tower away from the sea. You can kind of see the outline of whatever threshold it marks the entrance to this tower. There's no major windows, but there are arrow slits, and you three notice on the third floor briefly movement. And you couldn't really tell what exactly it was, but you saw movement on the third floor.
Well, definitely alert the others to that.
How far away was the movement that we saw from where we are?
The movement was in the tower. You saw through the arrow slit something move.
Okay, and how
inside
far
the tower?
How far away is the tower?
At this point, 150 feet, we'll say.
Okay.
And at this point, in addition to the windows, you can see moss and vines growing up, and you can actually see on top, the roof level, you can see the brackets of what remain to be some elevated beacon. It looks like this was once a lighthouse, as you get close enough to kind of notice the details. A few seconds go by, no more movement, no sound.
It's probably spotted us. As we spotted us.
How many levels does the tower seem to have?
It looks like 3, counting the kind of roof level.
I wonder if that roof is intact. Because if it is, then whatever movement we saw probably isn't a Volgrith, but if there's a way for it to get in through the roof, that could be it.
Would you like me to go up and check?
Pretty please the sugar on top?
Of course.
Don't get too close.
Well, I'm gonna have to climb up there. I cannot fly. Well, I would prefer not to fly.
Why don't we all just go up in there and see? Probably that we're going to end up doing anyway, right? Why risk sending somebody up alone?
There is strength in numbers.
Yes, there's also strength in knowing what we're getting ourselves into.
Okay. That's probably a good idea.
Well, if you go up there, we won't be able to help you.
Can you get out of there easily enough?
We don't know what's up there.
I'd feel more comfortable if we had a plan that did not rely on me potentially going face first into some giant demon creature that I don't understand. Yes, I would prefer that.
Well, prepare to be uncomfortable, my friend, because I believe we have spoken.
It's always a good idea to have a plan B, and if there's any way that the rest of us can be on guard and ready to intervene if the absolute worst happens, then perhaps Ezekiel would be more willing to participate in this ramshackle plan that we've got going on.
It's fine. You just want me to go up and see if there's a hole in the top of the tower?
From the sounds of it, basically.
I can cast my spells from pretty far away, so there is that if you get into trouble. As long as I can see.
How high is this tower? Or the third floor?
About 3 stories high. 60,
How high
70 feet.
Okay.
Alright. I will turn into a giant spider and climb up the tower.
As he is leaving, I would like to inspire Ezekiel, and this is going to be funny because I call you the exact name that you do not want to be called. He is Zeke. He certainly isn't weak. Whoa, whoa, whoa. He is Zeke. Oh, his voice is really sleek. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
About 12 pearly green eyes turn and look at you for a moment. Crawls back up the tower.
I was going to cast Shield of Faith on you before you go.
Oh, don't bother.
So that inspiration you can add to an ability check, attack roll, or saving throw.
Awesome.
And so, Ezekiel, as you in spider form towards the tower and begin to place your 8 legs upon it and begin to climb up, there's a few arrow slits here and there. Do you slow down to look in them at each level, or you just go straight to the top?
Yeah, I'll peep in.
Okay.
I'm trying not to be super obvious, though I guess I am a giant spider, so...
Okay. So looking in the... give me a stealth check.
24.
Okay. So feeling more comfortable in this form, almost, you very quietly, and peeking in the first arrow slit at the base ground floor, basically, you see part of a spiraling staircase that heads up, made of stone. You see piles of rotted, who knows what, furniture, cloth, you don't know, there's a few bones here and there. And give me a perception check. You notice in the piles of rotting furniture, or whatever it is, there's something that looks what's left over of a crate or barrel or something like that. There was some wooden structure that's halfway rotten. As you continue up and peep into the arrow holes every now and then, it looks like there's not another floor. It's just staircase after staircase until you get towards the top, towards the 3rd level.
As he's going up, I've just got a firebolt ready in case I see anything attack him.
Okay, so just holding it ready. And Ezekiel, as you come up to that arrow slit at sort of the 3rd level, where the others told you they saw movement, give me another perception check.
Okay. Another 10.
So you creep up, and with however many eyes can kind of look into that narrow slot, you see at first nothing, and then you see the wall.
If it matters, I do have blind sight out to 10 feet as well.
Okay, so as you were getting closer, there was no movement, but as you get up there and you're looking in, you don't see much, but your blind sight almost senses trembling, and it enables you to see the wall moving. You see the base of the wall rotating, and then it comes off, and you see it wasn't part of the wall, but some sort of elongated creature. And as it sprawls its head up, turning to meet you, very serpentine, you see 2 glowing eyes in the center of this room looking towards you, and I need you to make a charisma saving throw.
Oh, great. 11?
You have inspiration!
I have inspiration. That's a what?
D6?
That's a D6.
So, altogether that's 16.
Okay, so as you're looking into his eyes, you almost feel, and it's that same green glow you've seen before in the Valorant, with this large serpentine creature, and as you look into it, it's enthralling, hypnotic. The colors seem to change. You can see yellows and lime greens and dark almost orange yellow that sort of pulse out from the 2 eye sockets. And as you do, you almost feel your grip slip as you feel yourself almost stunned. But the song, you hear it floating in the back of your head, Zeke, and you grab tight once more and prevent yourself from falling off the 60 or so feet down. You kind of back up down just a little bit to be below, out of eyesight of the creature. What do you do?
I'm getting down the tower.
So you quickly down to the bottom. Nothing changes immediately. What do you do next?
I'm going to go back up to everybody else. I'm going to drop form and explain the creature I saw inside.
And yeah, Ezekiel, you come back and it was a large, probably you're guessing 12 foot, very large serpentine creature.
And it had the glowing eyes. I felt uncomfortable, but even if there is a hole on top, I don't particularly want to go up there by myself. Again. Right.
At this point, we know what's in there, kind of. Do we want to all deal with it, or do we want to just leave well enough alone?
It's in there, and it's not the Volgrith.
But it is a Volrin.
Right.
Which is what we came here to hunt, so perhaps we can hunt it.
I'm not happy about the idea of fighting it, but I'm less happy about the idea of leaving it.
It looked like it'd be fun to wrestle. I'm all for it.
Ball will unsheath his blade and maybe start to motion towards the entrance of this town.
Do we want to see if we can draw it out, or do we want to all go in there?
Well, if we can draw it out, that'd be good.
How do you want to do that? So in we go!
Well, it saw you, didn't it?
And it didn't seem to want to come after me.
Wait a sec, I got an idea. Anybody have any food, a banana, some rations, something?
Rations, yeah.
Can I see it real quick?
Hand it over.
Cal takes it, he munches it down real quick. Alright, I'm ready to go.
Alright, let's go.
Do you guys essentially rush in?
Do we want to rush in, or do we want to take it careful and try and hopefully get a jump on this thing? I mean, it knows we're here, but...
I mean, this feels like a kick the door in and just be prepared kind of situation.
Alright.
Leroy Jenkins! And Kalvyn goes...
So as you'll move closer with Kalvyn and I assume Paul next to each other, charging in, getting close immediately on the entrance, old stone, whatever pot, probably wooden door was there, long rotted, long gone. Old stone on the first initial floor. You see the spiral stone staircase going up. You see piles that Ezekiel saw of bone, and then just rotted matter. There's part of a crate that's rotted in the corner on one of these piles. As you'll initially
wait, everyone wait. There's the staircase is very narrow, I'm guessing, right, Klouse?
Yeah, like one ball or two medium, two of the others could shoulder to shoulder it, essentially.
It's a choke point. If we're going to get up there onto its level, it can take us one at a time, so we have to move fast. So we're not caught one at a time. So get in, plan out.
That's fair.
And Vesper kind of, I assume, says this as you're moving up the staircase?
Yeah.
Okay. So as you're moving up the staircase, you move up kind of 2 flights, another 2 flights, and then you can start to see light at the top, and not just from the air slits, and you know you're getting to that last floor. Do you just charge in?
Yeah, I think Ball will look back at the party, give them a nod, and then charge in.
Okay. So at this point...
As Ball gives that nod, I'm going to pop my wings.
Okay. They were like golden eagle wings, weren't they? Like golden brown?
White and brown.
White and brown, okay. So white and brown wings come unfurled. As y'all begin to run up the staircase, everyone go ahead and roll initiative.
Killing it today, guys.
We get all those natural 20s and they just rolled all the luck out of our die.
The stealth checks, though.
And I know it's a little early, but if y'all want to go ahead and take a break and come back at 7:25 after rolling your initiative, that way we're not breaking in the middle of combat, go ahead and do that, and we'll come back at 7:25 with combat.
Next time on Back to the Story.
Someone want to help me look at this up here? I found something.
You see a few other symbols on the sides you don't quite recognize, but you do recognize the symbol of Valisol. You see numerous serpentine creatures on the ground. You see, as you turn to the left, a massive 15-16 foot coiled creature. Ivory bone that starts to protrude from the skull, going back forming this cobra-like hood with green glowing eyes.
For part 2 of this episode of Back to the Story, you can find it on Stitcher, or by following us at back2_the story on Twitter.